The message from the void, the emergency. Council, the great hall of the galactic. Unity Council stood empty except for the emergency assembly. Councilor Threshan of the Valoran Empire tapped his clawed fingers against the metal table. His blue scales reflected the dim emergency lighting that bathed the chamber in an eerie glow. Around him sat representatives from 20 different species, each one showing signs of exhaustion and fear. They had been meeting for 3 days straight without resolution. The holographic display at the center showed a star map with red zones spreading like a disease across the outer colonies. In just 6 weeks, the Zaran horde had conquered 18 systems. They moved with brutal efficiency, appearing without warning, striking hard, and vanishing before defense fleets could respond. Traditional warfare meant nothing to them. They ignored treaties, scorned diplomacy, and slaughtered civilians without hesitation. Ambassador Kina from the Prithian collective stood slowly. Her silver hair floated around her head as if underwater, a trade of her aquatic species. She spoke with a voice that carried both authority and desperation. The outer rim is lost. Our fastest evacuation ships cannot outrun their raiders. Military convoys are being destroyed before they reach the conflict zones. We are not just losing territory. We are losing hope. General Vork slammed his massive fist on the table. The Crothian warrior stood nearly 3 m tall, his body covered in natural armor, plating that had turned red with age. He had fought in 40 campaigns across 2 centuries. Never in his long military career had he faced an enemy like this. Give me 4 battle groups in 6 months. I will push them back to whatever hole they crawled from. We fight with honor and discipline. We will prevail. The impossible question. Councilor Threshan shook his head slowly. He had reviewed every battle report personally. The numbers told a grim story. We gave you 3 battle groups last month, General. You returned with half your forces. We gave you advanced weaponry and tactical support. Thessar then adapted. Within days, they do not fight like civilized species. They do not value their own lives. They swarm our positions with overwhelming numbers, while their command ships stay hidden. The chamber fell into uncomfortable silence. Everyone knew the truth, but nobody wanted to say it aloud. The Galactic Unity Council was losing their sophisticated strategies, their advanced technology, their centuries of military doctrine meant nothing against an enemy that rejected every rule of engagement. The Tsar then fought like animals with cunning and savagery that sophisticated societies had abandoned millennia ago. Ambassador Kina pulled up a new display. It showed casualty projections running into the billions. At current rates, the Tsar then will reach core council worlds within 4 months. Our member civilizations are beginning to question whether the council can protect them. Some are already discussing separate peace negotiations. That would be suicide, General Vor growled. The Tsar then do not negotiate. They conquer and enslave. Any world that surrenders will face fate worse than destruction. Then what do you suggest, Ambassador? Kina asked quietly. We cannot win with traditional warfare. We cannot negotiate. We cannot evacuate billions of citizens. What options remain? Councilor Threshan had been dreading this moment. He had spent the last week consulting with military historians and strategic advisors. Every analysis reached the same uncomfortable conclusion. There was one option they had not yet considered, one resource they had deliberately avoided using. He took a deep breath and spoke the words that would change everything. Deathworlders. We could ask the humans for help. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Half the representatives jumped to their feet shouting objections. The other half simply stared in shocked silence. General Vork's face turned a darker shade of red, his natural armor plates rattling with anger. The humans you want to bring the Deathworlders into this conflict, have you lost your mind? Counselor, Ambassador Kina held up her hand for silence. When the chamber finally quieted, she spoke carefully. I have visited Earth 3 times. I have studied their history extensively. The humans are young, crude, and often barbaric by our standards, but they have one quality we desperately need right now. And what quality is that, General? Vor asked with obvious skepticism. They know how to win ugly wars. The chamber erupted again, but Threshan raised his voice above the chaos. Listen to Ambassador Kina. She has more experience with humanity than anyone in this council. Let her speak. Kina activated another display showing images from Earth's history, battles fought in mud and blood, cities reduced to rubble, soldiers fighting with primitive weapons in conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours. The images were disturbing to watch, violent and raw in ways that made sophisticated species uncomfortable. Humans evolved on a Class 12 death world, Kina explained. Earth is a nightmare planet where everything from the weather to the wildlife actively tries to kill them. They developed persistence, hunting, chasing prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They created weapons not for honor but for efficiency. They fought wars that lasted generations and never surrendered even when defeat seemed certain. That makes them dangerous, not desirable. An elder representative objected. Why would we invite such violence into our space? Because the Tsar then are already bringing that violence to our space. Threshan replied, we need warriors who understand how to fight without rules, without honor, without mercy. We need soldiers who learned warfare on a planet that gave them no other choice. The difficult decision. General Vork stood silent for a long moment. His entire life had been built on the principles of honorable combat. Face your enemy directly. Fight with courage and discipline. Respect the warrior code that separated civilization from barbarism. Everything he believed told him this was wrong, but the casualty reports did not lie. Traditional honor was getting his soldiers killed. What exactly are you proposing? The general asked quietly. Threshan pulled up a new document, a formal request for military assistance under the Mutual Defense Treaty that all council members had signed. The humans joined the council 10 years ago. They have full membership rights, including the obligation to assist fellow members during existential threats. We invoke that clause and request their special military forces. Special forces. Vork repeated the words as if tasting something bitter. What does that mean in human terms? Ambassador Kina looked uncomfortable. Human military structure is complex and often contradictory. They maintain regular armed forces that follow traditional command structures, but they also maintain smaller units that operate outside normal protocols. These units specialize in what humans call asymmetric warfare. sabotage, infiltration, psychological operations, and elimination of high-value targets, assassination and terrorism, and elder. Spat, you want to hire assassins. I want to survive, Kina shot back. Zarthan, do not fight honorably. Why should we die honorably while they butcher our civilians? The debate continued for another 6 hours. Representatives argued about ethics, military doctrine, and the dangerous precedent of bringing human combat methods into galactic warfare. But slowly, painfully, the reality of their situation became impossible to ignore. They were losing badly, and pride would not save billions of lives. Finally, Councillor Threshan called for a vote. It was close. Many representatives abstained, unwilling to take responsibility for the decision either way. But when the count finished, the resolution had passed. The Galactic Unity Council would formally request military assistance from Earth. The response: Ambassador Kina sent the message herself. She wrote it carefully, following all diplomatic protocols. She explained the strategic situation, detailed the failed military operations, and formally requested that Earth provide military advisors and combat support units to assist Council forces against the Zaran threat. She expected the response would take days. Human government moved slowly, requiring approval from multiple layers of bureaucracy. The reply came in 4 hours. It was not from the human government. It was not from Earth's official military command. The message came through an encrypted military channel with no identifying markers for simple words appeared on her screen. Operators deploying. Stand by. Kina stared at the message for a long time. Something about those words made her deeply uneasy. Not soldiers. Not forces. Operators. What did that mean? She ran the word through translation algorithms but could not find a satisfactory explanation. In human military terminology, operator seemed to refer to special forces personnel, but the word carried implications that standard translation could not capture. She forwarded the message to Councillor Threshan and General Vork. The general's response was immediate and angry. For words, that is their entire reply. What kind of military organization responds with 4 words and no operational details? Threshan was more thoughtful. He had studied human communication patterns. Humans often said less when they were most serious. Brevity in human military culture usually indicated confidence, not disrespect. We asked for help. They are sending help. Perhaps we should trust them to do what they do best. And what is that? Vore demanded. Threshan looked at the casualty projections still displayed on his screen, the red zone spreading across the map, the billions of lives hanging in the balance. Whatever is necessary to win. The arrival. 3 days later, a ship dropped out of hyperspace near the Council's forward operating base. Every sensor locked onto it immediately. General Vork had assembled 5,000 warriors for a proper greeting ceremony. He expected a battle group or at least a respectable military transport. What arrived was a single frigate. The ship was old, perhaps 40 years by human standards. No decorations marked its hull, no fleet insignia identified its origin. It was painted flat black with no lights except the minimum required for docking procedures. The entire vessel seemed designed to be forgotten, to blend into the darkness of Space and disappear from memory. Scan. That ship, Vor ordered, the sensor. Operator worked quickly. Basic armament. Standard shields. Engines are military grade, but not exceptional. I am detecting 12 life signs aboard, all human. 12. Vor could not believe it. They sent 12 soldiers. This is an insult. Ambassador Kina stood beside him, watching the ship approach. She remembered those 4 words. Operators deploying. Something told her that counting numbers might be the wrong way to measure what was coming. The frigate docked without ceremony. No communication. No formal announcement. Just a simple request for docking. Clearance and then silence. General Vork led his honor guard to the docking bay. Drums played ceremonial rhythms. Warriors stood in perfect formation, wearing their finest armor. It was how civilized species greeted military allies, with respect and dignity. The airlock opened. 12 humans walked out. They did not march in information. They moved casually, like workers arriving for an ordinary job. Their clothing was mismatched. Some wore dark green fatigues. Others wore tan or brown. One had a shirt with some kind of human symbol that the translation software could not identify. Their equipment looked used and worn. Weapons hung from straps and harnesses in positions that seemed random but were probably very deliberate. What struck Vorn AK most were their faces. Each human had painted their skin with dark colors in irregular patterns. Green, black, brown, and gray mixed together to break up the natural contours of their features. It made them look like predators, like the dangerous animals from their death world. The leader was a woman of average human height with short dark hair. She carried a rifle across her chest and had more knives visible than seemed practical. She walked directly up to General Vork without saluting or showing any formal military courtesy. Her eyes were calm and measuring. General Vor, she asked in perfect galactic standard. I am General Vorn, Supreme Commander of the I am Commander Sarah Reeves. This is my team. She gestured at the 11 other humans who were looking around the docking bay with expressions born AK could not interpret. The general felt his armor plates shifting with suppressed anger. Where are the rest of your forces? Surely Earth is sending more than 12 soldiers. Reeves met his eyes without flinching. This is it, General. We are what you get. One of the other humans spoke up. He was large, even by human standards, with scars crossing his face. We are not soldiers. We are operators. There is a difference. What difference? Vorak demanded. The big human smiled. It was not a friendly expression. You will see. Commander Reeves pulled out a data device. We need complete intelligence on the enemy, positions, movement patterns, supply routes, communication frequencies, everything. You have collected. Vor AK gestured and one of his officers provided a data chip. 2 months of reconnaissance. 17 confirmed Zarin base locations. They move constantly. We cannot predict their operations. We will see about that, Reeves said. She looked at her team. Gear check in 20 minutes. Mission brief in 40. We deploy at sunset. Deploy where? Born AK asked. His voice was rising. We have not discussed strategy. We have not coordinated our forces. We have not, with respect. General Reeves interrupted. Your strategies have not worked. That is why we are here. Let us do our job. She walked away. Her team followed. Vore stood in the docking bay surrounded by his honor guard and felt something he had not experienced in decades. He felt uncertain. These 12 humans with their mismatched clothing and casual attitudes were supposed to stop an enemy that had defeated the combined military might of 20 civilizations. Ambassador Kina watched the humans disappear down the corridor. Maybe, she said quietly, maybe respect and honor are not what we need right now. That night the operators disappeared into the darkness and the nightmare began.